Well, welcome to the week 8
Okay.
coaches show. It's going into week 8. I don't remember if I think it's our 7th show, but
Yeah.
8th week going into week 8. And boy, these are the ones that are sometimes not fun to do because I think sometimes a blowout loss is an easier coaches show to do than one that happened Friday night when it was just, man, I was right there for us, a game that we could have won. But the Hippos took a tough loss last Friday night to Temple, fell 31-27 in a game that, we were actually just talking before we started recording here. Crazy things happen in Temple. Games are always great over there. They don't always work out in our favor. But, man, there's always some good football that's happened. We go back to 2014. We still all talk about the touchdown that wasn't in the front corner of the end zone. Davion Davis, our receiver, to this day, and there's video to prove it, that he got in, but he didn't get the touchdown. So when we got a touchdown in that same exact inside that pylon the other night, it was like there's a little bit of redemption right there. But that was a great game. Of course, last year we had the great game that we fell way behind. It was kind of, I call it Will's coming out party. He rallied us in the fourth quarter last year. Came up just a little bit short, and then this past Friday night, of course, Hippos fell behind early, and came back, took a lead, and kind of lost it right there at the end. So Hippos fall to 3-4 on the year, 0-3 in district play. But, and I think I kind of did this but last week. You're kind of past the gauntlet, right? The last two games, Harker Heights and Temple, which are both the two top teams in district play, both undefeated right now. And now you're at that place in the schedule with 3 games remaining that you can win all 3 games. No doubt you can beat the 3 teams that are left on the schedule. And I think if my math and kind of looking at who plays who and all that remaining, I think we kind of control our own destiny. If we win those 3 games, I think we can grab a playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we win the 3 games, we're in. If we drop one of the games, we're not.
Right. So, yeah, it kind of becomes every game's a playoff game now at this point, right? And I guess you kind of have to have that mentality. Well, let's kind of go back to Friday night and recap that one. For the first time all year, and maybe I jinxed us last week because I talked about how we had scored every time on our very first possession. And not only did we not score on our first possession last Friday night, we didn't score the whole first quarter, which was kind of crazy for our offense. But it just kind of took us a little while, seems, to get rolling. Fell behind early 15-0 before the offense really kicked in. Was that a thing of Temple was doing some things that maybe we hadn't seen, or we were just kind of off?
No, they showed us some different stuff in the secondary that we hadn't seen going into it, and so they had watched. Obviously they got coaches that are really good at their job, and they watch film and things like that, and so they went back and they put in some different things. They brought in their stud receiver to come play some secondary stuff for them on some situations, and then it just took us a little bit with our offensive line to kind of get things rolling, and then once we started picking some things up with our zone schemes, that's when we really started taking off a little bit.
Fell behind 15-0. Then we come back. We get that first score. I think it was on a long touchdown
To
Alex Green to cut it to 15. The other thing I was going to mention on their first touchdown, again, and maybe Ryan and I just keep jinxing things because they lined up in that swinging gate, right? And we were talking a couple of games ago how teams line up in that and nobody ever runs out of it. They then end up shifting over and doing a regular 2-point attempt. They actually ran it out of that swing gate. Did that catch you guys by surprise?
No, the way they set it up was a little bit different than what we had seen, and so that's one of the things that in our play the game that we rep from week 0 to the very end is different versions of swinging gate, and so. We went into it, and we had several different versions that we had practiced lining up to, and we just misaligned. They had 4 in the middle, I believe. We had never worked with a 4 in the middle, which means that we would have to have 5,
right?
To be +1 right there. And so, good design by them. They got us. And but no, we that's something that we do consciously rep as far as the swinging gate and little trick play stuff like that.
Well, they got that, so they went up 8-0, scored again 15-0. Then we got that score to cut it 15-8. They came kicked a field goal. No, 15-7. I think they kicked a field goal to go up 18-7. And then we score again to cut it to 18-14. And really feeling that momentum beginning to switch, and unfortunately had that bobbled punt with about 3 minutes or so right before halftime, because you're at that point you're thinking, okay, we just stopped them again. You're feeling that momentum switch. We stopped them. They're punting to us. We have time to go get a score going into the halftime, and we get the ball to start the second half. But unfortunately, we bobbled that punt, and they're able to get a score then right before halftime and take that 24-14 lead into the locker room. When you went in at halftime, what's the thought and what's the conversation, after coming back from that 15-0 and seeing, hey, not only can we play with these guys, we probably are outplaying them.
No, it was great conversations going into halftime. I went in, I talked to Brody a little bit. He got smoked on that punt, and so he was like, man, I saw it, and then I saw him coming in late, and then it was kind of knuckleballing, and I didn't have a chance to get my arm back up. He's like, man, I just got to eat it. And so, unfortunate that we fumble the football right there, and they get it back after a great stop. And defense had several stops there in the first half, and so we knew, all it was a matter of time of us coming back out and playing, that we were going to be able to make it a ball game. And so the probably the most discouraging part of that end of that first half was the blocked field goal right there as we were driving it down. That's the first one that we've had blocked this year. And, we got some backup guys in because we have some guys out. And so kind of got some pressure right there in the middle that kind of haunted us all night.
Yeah, they ended up blocking another one later in the second half too. And, so Tim ended up with two blocked field goals. I mean, not his fault, but two blocked field goals, and those are the things in a game like that are big. And then of course a missed extra point, his first missed extra point of the year. But so you go into halftime 24-14, but feeling like, we're playing with them probably, or playing better than them. Scoreboard doesn't reflect it. One of the things that I really loved, and I thought they would change in the second half, is we really shut down their stud, that Harrison Pilot. He didn't do anything. They were doing it really more just on the ground with that tailback.
Yeah, and they had the one big play early in that first series where he caught a kind of a bang slant route and took it to the house. After that, our kids kind of settled in, and we made some defensive changes going into the game that I thought really helped us, and kind of took away some of that big ball that they would be able to throw. Ended up leading to a couple interceptions with Galindo and Settles getting one, and then some big time sacks with Park and Colin Wilson coming off the edge, and two fumble recoveries that Brody recovered. And so overall I thought the defense was playing good. They didn't give up. Even with the rushing that they were getting, they weren't giving up a whole lot. I think 50 of their rushing yards were right there in the fourth quarter of their maybe 180 that they had, somewhere around there.
Yeah, come out second half, and it was almost a flip of the script of how the last few games have been, where we score early, and our offense in the first half was really doing a great job, and in this game, offense struggled a little bit in the first half, but second half our offense was moving the ball, doing well, and defense was just shut down, shut them out. Until that final score with 40 seconds left or whatever it was, our defense completely shut them out in the second half.
Yeah, I thought Coach Mullins and staff did a great job of preparing the kids for Friday night. We made some changes. We went to more of a 4-down front, which I thought really helped us in the run game. A lot of the big runs that they did have were when we would switch back into our 3-man front or a 3-high look for long down situations and things like that. But thought that overall, we played. It's the best game that we've played as far as with effort and complete. And defense was playing well, offense was grinding it out. Not every series versus a great team is going to be a touchdown.
Sure.
If it ends in a kick, you're doing pretty well, and that's what everything was doing. It was in and in. Us trying to kick a field goal or punt or an extra point after a touchdown. And so I thought that we did both sides of the ball did a great job in the second half, and gave us a chance to win the ball game at the end.
Come down and we'd cut it to 24-21, and then we get the big score with 3 minutes left in the game to go up 27-24. I think that's when we missed that extra point.
It is.
Which, that was big. It was big later because if you make that extra point, then you have a chance at the end to kick a field goal to tie and send it in overtime. But still, 3 minutes left. I think 3:10 when we scored it, and now it's on the defense again to hold them. And I do have to ask because people are asking, and you've already told me. So we score and we kick off, and what appears to be an onside kick, but it wasn't truly an onside kick.
So we tried to do the two previous kicks that we had done were kind of a onside-ish looking thing, but it's kind of our sideline squib, and that's what we were going for. We had pinned them on the 25, the two previous touchdowns, with great field position. Number 4, who was their return man this week, they've had number 7 back there. We weren't going to kick to him. They had number 4 back there this week, which is a New Mexico State recruit. Which he's electric, he's fast,
Yeah.
and we tried a sky kick earlier over to their sideline. They caught it about the 30 and took it to our 40. And so, wasn't really feeling anything in the air. We got some guys that, we're a little bit banged up on our kickoff team. And so felt that, getting a squib and getting, our guys down there to cover, that would be the best chance, for that right there. And then just ball didn't bounce the way we wanted it to bounce. And, then it comes off looking like we tried to onside right there, But, it is what it is. It's one of those things, on the flip side, defense is playing great. And,
right.
That's something that, we thought regardless, where this ball goes and we get it down here, defense is going to hold us out and we're going to be okay. Now, ideally to give them the ball on the 50, no. Just didn't play out the way that we thought it was going to play out.
I guess the only advantage is if they're going to score, it shortens the time that they score and gives you a little bit of time left on offense, which you had. I do wonder, or I do want to ask, so I think it was like 2 kicks before that, and Tim had, I think, kicked one out of the back of the end zone. But I don't know, was it a wind thing or was Tim just a confidence in his leg at that point that he wasn't going to be able to kick it deep?
On that one, I was doing something. I was chasing down a kid or I was doing something. And me and Tim usually talk before he goes out. And I'm doing something. And so I look up and Tim's booming it, which you said we weren't going to really kick it down there because it's kind of a crosswind at the end of it. And so then I look and he's like, I couldn't find you, couldn't get a call, so I just kicked it. And I was like, all right, man, cool.
He kicked it deep.
And so, but no, I mean, it was really right there, just trying to keep the ball kind of down and cover. And, that way we didn't put something in the air. We've seen on film where they've taken it from 5, 6, 7 yards deep in the end zone because they trust their speed. And
They've got athletes.
Yeah, and that's definitely a time where they would catch that in the end zone and try to bring it out. And so we felt that the best thing that we could do is keep the ball on the ground. Obviously, we'd have loved to get to the second row in there, could have went through one of those creases like we had done just the previous 2. So that was kind of the thought process through there, is that don't give them a chance to get a good return on it.
You mentioned something, and I always say something about it every time we go play in Temple. Talk about the crosswind. Well, it's because their field runs east and west. It's like most fields run north and south, right? So you're either going straight into a wind or you have a straight wind at your back most of the time. Oh. Over there, you almost always have a crosswind because with a field running east and west, the wind usually is blowing out of the north or out of the south.
Nope.
How does that pregame? Do you guys do y'all talk about that? And obviously, when your kickers are out working, you've got to point that out to them. Hey, not a normal wind situation here.
Yeah, we let Tim go out a little bit early before we go out, so that way he can kick a little bit and kind of get a feel for where the wind's at. And, then we just have to be conscious of it. He has a little bit of a draw back to the left for natural way that his ball goes. And so, if you got a wind coming, to your left, just know that ball is going to push out, quite a bit. And then on the flip side of it, he's got to understand, we have to understand that, if it's coming the other way to your right, your normal hook that's going to bring you back in there, it's going to hang on you a little bit more. And so we just have to, and we think about, now we don't want to kick on the right hash because kicking down the right hash is going to hold it basically in the middle of the field.
Right.
And, kick it on the left hash, depending on where that wind's coming, could push you back into the middle of the field. It's just all those little details, which I'm still, learning and everything else. I like working with the kickers. They're fun guys.
They are. They're always interesting. What do you think about fields like that? Those east and west fields. Sometimes we've played games there before. Of course, our games this year are starting at 7:30, but we've played games before there earlier in the year that start at 7 o'clock. And if you're on the east end, like receiving a kick, that sun can be blinding.
Yeah, that was like when we first started, because we were in that end zone with the scoreboard and getting ready to do our pat and go for pregame, and it was like, man, just let that sun get down there. And so we had to make it sure we did it on our side so that our kids aren't looking straight into the sun and things like that. Just to try to avoid some of those things.
It's funny the things we kind of get used to and we take for granted, right? Like how a football field is normally oriented, and then you get to a place like that, and you're like, wait, this is a little different. In terms of wind and sun and all of that. Well, so Temple gets down, they score, they get that kick, and they get down and they get it in with about, I think there's 40 seconds left to go up 31-27. And with a guy like Will Hammond as your quarterback and some of the receivers we have, there's still a chance. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we get that ball down to their 29. I think we were at their 29 still with like 20 seconds to go or so. Yep. And you got those two penalties in a row to push us back to the 39, and that just makes things a little tougher, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We got down there. I think we burned our last timeout right in there somewhere, and so we were clocking on the first down. Gary had the great catch on the sideline.
Yep.
They got the targeting hit and got us 15 more after that. Kind of put us right there, and then just kind of two mishaps to where center couldn't hear a quarterback and things like that. And so just, mishaps right there and put us back 10. And we got two shots at the end zone. Took one to Alex on the first one, just a little bit wide on the field right there with that one, which I think that's that wind coming from pushing it that way just a little bit. And, on the next one, he gets it up there. And, Brody gets a hand on it, but it's one of those things where Brody's kind of backpedaling into the end zone. He didn't quite get all the way underneath it, and two good shots at the end zone to try to make a play, and just didn't happen.
Yeah, and then when you on that last one, that's just a free for all, right? It's just you're hoping that the ball's going to get batted up and somebody's going to catch it, or you're going to have something happen like it happened in that Appalachian State game a few weeks ago where somebody batted it and they were running, just caught it on the deflection and took it in. But so a tough loss, but it's one of those, and I think we've talked about this, right? You don't take away moral victories and those kind of things, or you don't call them that. At the same time, you gotta walk off that field and go, man, we are good enough. We are good enough to play with these guys and beat these guys. Because I'll tell you, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You look at the stats and you just the eye test is we were better than them Friday night. Now, whether you played 10 times, I don't know how that would go, but last Friday night, we were a better team than they were. It just didn't reflect it on the scoreboard.
Oh, absolutely. I think our defense held them to 380-ish, and I think we had 483 on offense. It just didn't reflect on the scoreboard. But, walking away from it with the kids, I told them I was proud of them because, to me, that was the hardest that we've played for 48 minutes. And, we've had our moments where we've looked better, maybe a little more explosive on offense or, defense. And that Judson game was lights out. But this was the first time that we had, completely played, more of a complete football game and just had some mishaps on special teams that we normally don't have.
And that team was better than the Judson team. So, to maybe not have had the explosiveness, but against the opponent that we had, there was a lot of good that came out of that. Okay, so as coaches, so you take that loss. That's a tough loss. That's a tough loss for the kids. It's a tough loss for coaches. How do you get these kids, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to react positively and basically be like, hey, let's take this and learn from it and grow from it and use it these next 3 weeks to get into as we make our playoff push.
And it's, we've talked about it kind of there at the beginning of the season. You got 24 hours. And it was kind of funny. Will got a text from a coach that's recruiting him and, kind of told him about tough loss. And the coach texted him back, college coach, and said, you got 24 hours and then on to the next one. And so Will took a screenshot and sent it to me.
That's awesome.
Laughed a little bit. And so I was like, yeah, man, I don't make all this stuff up. I mean, it's actually, what we talk about. And
Right.
so kids came in good. We talked about it right after the game that, we control our destiny the next 3. And it's now up to us to go and take care of business and make sure that, we're putting the best product on the field and, everything's crossed and things like that. And, we're hitting on all cylinders. And I think Friday night was the first time that we had hit, on all cylinders, offensively and defensively, going into that.
Well, and that's what you want, right? I mean, you can go through non-district and look good and win those games. Those games don't mean anything when it comes to playoffs. You want to be peaking and you want to be getting better every week. And in spite of the fact that you lost to Temple and you lost to Harker Heights, I think you can look at that, and you just have said it, and see we're getting better and we're going in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just take our run game, for instance. I mean, JJ goes for 156, 151, something around there, and a touchdown, had 2 big old gains. And so, which is the first time that we've really broke long runs this season. We've kind of, it's been Will, it's been JJ a little bit, some of the jet sweep stuff and things like that. But it was the first time that it truly just been, zone read, handoff to the running back, and, actually have a hole in there to go crease. And so that was a great thing for me. And then, the wide receivers are doing a great job out there. We're catching the ball, we're not dropping. You go back to the Vandergrift scrimmage where we dropped like 8 balls just in a scrimmage with those guys. And so they've done a great job of, working with them, and the wide receiver coaches as well. And, and again, for me, defensively, it was about our play versus the run, especially in our 4-down front. I thought it was fantastic. And so that gave me, was a lot to build off of in that.
You mentioned coach or the college coach that texted Will. Can I say who that was? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know who it was. But my question is, so you had some college coaches there at the game, right? And I mean, I think I could say it. It's not a big secret. So Tech's offensive coordinator was there, and they're recruiting Will. But I know also there was a recruiter from Houston. There was a recruiter from Arizona. So game like that, you've got these guys that are there looking at kids and scouting. Do you address that at all with players, or is that a distraction in any way when these players, they know those guys are there watching them and they're wanting to show out for those guys?
Yeah, no, I talked to Will about Texas Tech being there just because, he does have an offer from them, Coach Kidley. Text me and let me know that he was going to be there and be on the sidelines. So I asked Will if he had talked to him just to see, that, and so he said that he had texted him. And then Coach Meekins from University of Houston, he's an old friend of mine, and he's from Shepherd, Texas.
Oh yeah.
In that area, and so he's a great guy, and so he's a former high school coach. Was a head coach at Spring Westfield when I was down in Houston area, and so I gave him a big old hug, and me and him talked for a little bit, and so, but for the most part, I don't talk to the kids a whole lot about it, just because they either get tense up about it or they try to do too much, or type of those things. They just got to go out and do their job and play a great game, and let everything else speak for itself.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, because those kids know. I mean, they know that those guys are there, and do they? Is it one of those things that at least early on, man, I'm really going to show what I've got and lose a little focus, or are they locked in and just doing their thing? Talk a little bit about, because I think people don't understand how that whole recruiting process works, right? I mean, talk a little bit about your role and how the conversations you have with college coaches and when they come to visit, and then what are the rules? Like, because I was talking to Kitley before the game, and I was like, are you allowed to talk to him? And he was like, no. He goes, we can say hi. I can say hi if we bump into each other, but I'm not supposed to have a conversation with him. And, they've got all these recruiting rules. Do y'all as a staff have to really understand all of those things too? Or is that really more on those college coaches to do the right thing?
No, it's on us as well, because we have to understand when it's a time where they can just come on campus as compared to when it's a time they can come on campus and talk to the kids in those recruiting periods. And so it's difficult. I mean, you got to look through and you can see, kids get anxious about, man, so-and-so hasn't come out yet. Okay, well, hold on. all right, here's their bye week. This is the week that they get to go out and watch. And then you only get so many visits to certain schools, and you
Right.
only get so many, in-game visits, and being able to watch it from there. And so there's a lot of little details that go into it, and then. Like Coach Meekins. Coach Meekins doesn't recruit our area. Good friend of mine, so I mean, I can tell him all you can do is pass it on to who the recruiting person is for the area, and it's just there's lots of ins and outs, and recruiting has changed so much just in the last 3 years, as far as since the COVID hit and gave everybody an extra year, and
Right.
so those guys are just now starting to get to become seniors, and you see it a lot on Saturday when you watch football. 6-year senior,
That's crazy.
you get your redshirt year, then you got your COVID year. You could have
A medical red shirt.
you
year.
could have. I mean, you could be in college for 7 years,
Yeah.
and be a doctor, and
Some of them are.
yeah, I don't know if they're doctors, but
No.
no, it's and it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of older kids playing college football right now, and the recruiting thing is, and the transfer portal is to me is
It's
hurting high
changing.
school
Yeah,
kids
Yeah, I agree.
so much. And I actually had a conversation with a parent last night about that. Is that the transfer portal is hurting the mid-range kids, the kids that before we would normally categorize as a 1AA guy, Division II guy. Now those guys are holding spots to see who's in the transfer portal, so they can get a guy that's a bounce back, or someone that's coming down. And so it's changed so much. It's just different all the way around.
How much of your time would you say you spend taking calls or text messages or visits from college coaches and recruiters?
Yeah, we had a couple come down. We had one, I guess, Friday morning. We had Arizona State here. We had Rice come through last week. And, usually on those visits, it's maybe 10, 15 minutes of talking with them. We have recruiting coordinators. Coach Albert, our wide receiver coach, who came from Midwestern, he sends out a lot of emails. That's one of the things that's in his responsibilities. He sends out lots of emails and video clips and things like that. And then we have Coach Hargrove too, who's also a former college coach. He sends out info and stuff like that to his former contacts, because again, it's a lot like getting a scholarship is a lot like getting a job. And it's always better when you have a foot in the door,
Right.
and can get someone to get you an introduction of that, hey man, this is the guy that y'all really need to look at, and which really helps. And so it's kind of a collaborated effort where no one guy's just spending a whole lot of time on it, but everybody's kind of chipping in and doing their job.
Yeah, and it seems like back in the day, to use a phrase that's way overused, but back in the day, it was really all about, hey, they're going to come watch your games, or they're going to watch game films of just a team and hope that you get noticed for something that you do. But it seems like nowadays it's a lot more on the player and maybe the high school coaches or the recruiting, coordinators with the high schools to be proactive and really pushing that stuff out to schools and say, basically, hey, look at me.
Yeah, it's big now, and that's. We talked a little bit about social media earlier, but that is maybe the one positive of social media is being able to promote yourself on there. And so, you'll see it on Saturday or Sunday. A lot of our kids will, tag their game highlights and put them out there. And, we try to do our best to retweet those and favorite them and things like that, so that it pops up on our timelines that, we're connected to these coaches. And then, you have all your 8 billion different ranking services,
Right.
that so-and-so's the top quarterback in this, and, the top O-line or whatever else, top 48. And you just try to promote your kids as much as you can. I think the more that that you put yourself out there and that you're able to showcase your kids, the more people are going to start coming around and looking and seeing what you got.
When these recruiters come and talk to you, are they looking more, because obviously they can watch film, they can see how the kids are, they can kind of see their measurables, right? Are they talking to you more about, hey, tell me what kind of a kid he is, or what kind of a person is he? Is this a person that's going to be a good person at our school?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it varies from school to school. When when Rice comes in, they want to see it's academic first.
Sure.
Who can get into our school? All right, this guy can get into your school.
Right.
And then they kind of like, oh, well, we don't need that this year. We're not recruiting that this year. And then it may only be one person that actually fits into their criteria for that. And which, I mean, it's just kind of slim it down. And now we'll talk about that one kid and,
Right.
Personality and things like that. A lot of things that they want to know is, what type of person is he, obviously. Does he love football? Is it just something he's playing?
Hmm.
Is it something that, because college is different. I mean, it's a grind.
It's a job.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't love it, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And so they want guys that, truly love football. And then obviously the academic part of it is huge. Whether it be Rice or, any of the other schools that come by, is that, they got to make sure that, they're making an investment in you, that academically you're going to be able to hold up your end of the bargain, and that you're going to qualify for their school and be able to get into it. And then that also helps them with figure out their financial aid and how much they can give you. And, depending on, your level of Division 1AA, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, junior college, all of them, pay out a little bit different. And so it's a lot of little things that go in there, and just trying to figure out, who fits into what circles and things like that. And so it's tough.
You watch these college games on Saturday, which I don't know if you watched this past Saturday. It was just a day full of just great football, right? And you're just, Alabama Tennessee game, and then, the Oklahoma State TCU game, and then late at night Utah and USC game, and they're all just like, coming down to the end, and there's just all of these just incredible athletes and great football players, and you're thinking there's so many of those around the country, right? That and I really start thinking about you guys and just the role that y'all play as coaches in trying to help these kids, get noticed and get opportunities. And I think so many times people forget what you guys as coaches do. They see you on Friday night, right? But beyond that and beyond the practices, ultimately you're doing what you do because you love kids and you want to help them, in a path in life.
Absolutely. I think that's, try not to lose sight of that. Yes, I'm a coach. That's what I do. But I love being around kids and helping them grow. Not just in football athletics, but also in life. And then on top of that, I'm a father too.
Right.
I have two kids of my own. Two others that we kind of brought in to live with us. And then I'm a husband, and so it's people forget about that sometimes. They think it's just coach 24/7, and you got to go be dad. On Tuesdays I'm gonna go watch Levi, and then last Wednesday I had to go watch his band concert. And,
yeah.
Those type of things. And some people don't understand that. Coach, how come you don't ever come Tuesday night games? Well, that's the night that my son plays.
Right.
And it's a balancing act that number one, it takes you have to put your priorities in the right spot. Number two, you have to have a loving wife that understands the amount of hours and commitment that you put into it. And that's why it's so important for me whenever we have time off, whether it be a Friday where we could go scout, that those coaches go spend time with their family, just
right.
because we're spending, I don't know, 80 hours a week up here.
Wow.
Because we're 8 to 12-ish, 8 to 1-ish on Saturday, and then back in at 10:30, 11 on Sunday till 5. And so we spend a lot of time away from them. And so it's important that, we get our priorities in order. And, hopefully that shows these kids as well, hey, this is how you balance all that together when it seems like it may be too much.
Yep. Well, and you, I just think that all of that is all part of what you do. And I'm sure you would tell a coach or someone that says they want to be a coach, first thing is you better love kids, right? Mm-hmm. And you better really want to do what's right for them. What about give some shout-outs? So there were some guys that had some really big games last Friday night. I mean, I kind of made my list, but Will, JJ, Alex, Brody had a great game. Jalen Parkinson had a great game. I mean, got some shout-outs to give.
Yeah, Park had 20 tackles, moving down to that defensive end position. Theodore Anderson had 2 pass breakups right there on the line of scrimmage, which were great. I thought Steven Galindo did a really good job stepping in at safety for us, and I thought he did a really, really good job on the offensive side. Really hats off to the offensive line. I thought they did a really good job. I don't think we had a sack. I'm trying to remember back.
I can't remember one. I commented on that during the game. They were doing a great job giving Will time to throw.
Yeah, giving him time to throw. I thought they did a really good job with that. And then, our receivers are just continuing to do better and better. Carson LaPlante had a great catch there.
Yes,
and, obviously Alex is taking taking the top off. And it's funny when we watch Alex. Me and Coach Leonard were talking about this the other day. It's like it's not like he's running fast, just the way that he runs. But then you're looking like, all right, here we are. We're playing Temple, and he's 3 yards ahead of this guy that was just running with him, and so he's moving down the field pretty good. So I mean, it's too many to mention. Thought that they all did really really good jobs overall.
All right. So, one other thing I want to mention. You said something. You were talking about your son in band. I think this is an opportunity for us to give a shout out to the Hutto band.
Yes.
Our Hutto band is moving on to area. Got all ones in the regional, and now they're moving on to area contest. And I think football on Friday nights is football, but it's also band and it's a lot of other things. But football would be what it is without the band.
Oh, man, absolutely. Hey, shout out to Madell and Tony, who are two of our offensive linemen that are also in the band.
Nice.
And so, super happy. I was super excited when I saw that come up on Twitter, just because I know those guys put a lot of effort in, and so it's great to have I think when your school's moving in the right direction, everything starts, seeing the success. Whether it's band, it's volleyball that's about to clinch a playoff spot on Friday. Football is coming in the right direction, starting to move into it. And I think it's going to trickle over into all your other sports because we kind of our thing today was are you trying to impress or are you trying to impact? And I think that. When you create the right culture inside of your program, you begin to impact the entire school. And we talked about, how we could impact, not just the school of Hutto, but also the whole community. And I think that, we're moving in that direction right now.
And we've talked about that. That's a lot of your character development stuff, right? And I love that. Are you trying to impress or impact? Because, I feel like I talk about it every week. The impact that these kids can have on younger kids on that elementary school that's right across the street and other elementary schools and all of that is you can impress on a football field on a Friday night, but you can impact a community and you can impact a lot of other people all those other days.
Absolutely. And we talked about even just on our team, these guys that are varsity guys, what kind of impact are you having on, the sophomores and juniors that are maybe JV guys, and that was one thing that was a little bit different at Johnson, the school I came from, is that when we opened up, it was sophomores and freshmen, and we didn't have any seniors.
Right.
So there was no, no one to show them how we're going to practice or how we're going to, work out, how we're going to do weights.
Nobody to hold them accountable.
Yeah, and so it was a little different. So it's great here to see, the senior leadership that we do have, and them holding each other accountable. I definitely excited, about the future.
Well, we wish the band well in their area competition. I say it every year. They are maybe the hardest, with all due respect to the football team. That band, when they're out there in August and, in the heat from sunrise to sunset, it almost seems like they don't have the rules that y'all have in terms of
they're a little different.
How much time that you're able to actually practice.
No, they're a little different, man. They're out there a lot.
A lot in that heat.
Yeah, it's a full-time commitment.
Yep.
And so, I'm excited to see them finish out their season.
Do you encourage your players to hey, go support the band, go support the volleyball team, go support these other organizations, because most of them are there supporting you on Friday nights?
Yeah, it's I think it's big whenever we're able to go out and support. We've had pretty good crowds over at the volleyball games, which is a lot of the football guys, and so it's fun. I think to me, that's part of your high school experience, and you should enjoy it. And just be in the moment.
Yep, I agree. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about Copper's Cove coming up this Friday night. It's homecoming. We already mentioned at the beginning of the show, basically every game right now is now a playoff game, because if you win out and you go 3-0 in your last 3 games, you're going to be in the playoffs. If you stub your toe against 3 teams that you're capable of beating, then you're going to watch everybody else in the playoffs this year. So what is Copper's Cove? I know they're struggling, but every game they play, they want to try to get a win too. Yeah. So what do we need to watch for from them?
Coach Johnson is he's new there. This is his first year. Coach Johnson does a great job. They're very athletic. They have some great skill kids. Got a big offensive lineman that's pretty heavily recruited, and so they're going to lean on that and lean on the run game a little bit. And got a couple of receivers that they kind of throw it up to that have shown that they do a pretty good job. On the defensive side, it's kind of a lot of what we've seen. They're a little bit more undersized on the defensive line that we've seen the last couple of weeks, but they got great skill in the back end that they try to make up for it.
How do you encourage or keep 16, 17-year-old guys' minds focused on, hey, even though we've just played the two toughest teams in the district, and now we're playing the team that's maybe isn't as good as them, we still have to only think about these guys, win this Friday, and then we'll think about next Friday and then the next Friday. Do you have to help them stay focused, or are they mature enough to do that on their own?
No, they've been pretty good. We talked about, we got to run the table. And, it starts with this Friday. And then here's the game plan. Let's lock it in and let's take care of business. And they've done a very, very good job of that, of forgetting about, whatever else. Let's focus on this week. Let's be 1-0 Friday night. If we're 1-0 Friday night, that's great. We'll go on to the next Friday night, work on being 1-0.
Win Friday night, and then you have 24 hours to
celebrate it and
celebrate that, and then look forward to Brian. And then you got some relationships down there.
Yeah.
So I know you'll look you weren't not gonna look ahead,
nope.
but that'll be a fun one for you as well.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that one. But yeah, we're gonna take care of business this week, and then we'll have another chance to work towards the playoffs.
So the last question, and we mentioned this last week. Weather's starting to change. It's kind of chilly this morning, and tomorrow morning it's supposed to be about 41. You don't like that, do you?
No, I don't at all. And so the kids were already laughing at me this morning. I came in there and I had my camo hoodie on and sweatpants and a beanie and gloves. And they're like, Coach, it's not that cold. I was like, yes, it is. Anything below 60 is cold for me. I mean, that's like freezing. Anything below 60, and then the wind. Oh,
yeah, the wind is what makes it the worst.
I think my nose was purple out there this morning.
I need to run out here. I'm going to come out tomorrow morning at practice and just snap a picture of you and see what that looks like.
I'll be bundled up.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's supposed to get cold, but then it's supposed to warm back up. I think actually it's supposed to be really nice football weather for the next few weeks. So it'll be great. Well, come out Friday night, Hutto Memorial Stadium. Again, it's homecoming. So we should have a good crowd, and have some folks coming back, and homecoming festivities and homecoming queen, all of those things, pregame and halftime. But let's get a good crowd out Friday night for the Hippos versus Copperas Cove as the Hippos begin their kind of final push to make that playoff run and extend their season beyond just the regular season. 7:30 Friday night. If you can't be here, you can watch it on watchthehippos.com, which, by the way, quit promoting those other teams.
Man, that was one of our coaches.
Sites.
One of our coaches
I know,
pushed that out, and then I thought it was ours, and so I hit the
know.
retweet, and then I was like, oh, then I went back and edited it.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I told Ryan, I was like, that other coach, I should call him out. But it's like, I guarantee you, they think that's us, and it's not. So anyway, no, watch thehippos.com, and that's where you'll see the hometown broadcast.
Yes.
And we might be a little biased, but we know our guys. So anyway, yeah, tune in and watch that. If you can't be at the game, we hope you can be there. And then next week we'll be back doing the coaches show and talk about the next game against Bryan as the Hippos continue to push towards the playoffs. For Coach, I'm Todd. Have a great week, everybody.